say, how are you all this evening of your time as you create time to exist? Allow us to begin this interaction this evening of your time with a reminder that we have entitled this interaction Ghost Story in honor of your All Hallows Eve. Now, just one more reminder of the basis of the foundation. Though this may not have anything to do, particularly with the story we will share, the basis and the foundation of your Halloween. Once again, in times past, there was upon your planet, as many of you have realized, many ancient civilizations, one of which you call Atlantis. It has now, down through your ages, been relegated to the idea of a mythological civilization, is still commemorated in much of your literature in various ways, though you have, in many ways, forgotten what some of these commemoratives actually refer to. One idea of the destruction of Atlantis is what you refer to as your biblical flood. The idea also of many of your druidic rituals also harken back to the idea of some of the Atlantean civilizations. Your Egyptian and your Central and South American pyramidal structures harken back to the time of Atlantean architecture, for they were begun in that land, those structures. Also, pertaining to this interaction this evening of your time, in terms of the date of your counting, your Halloween, the 3 dates, your All Hallows Eve, your November 1st, and your November 2nd, represented in some of your religious circles as the idea of All Saints and All Souls Days, the days following All Hallows Eve. Those 3 days are actually the remnant commemoration of the day before, the day of, and the day after the destruction of Atlantis. In a sense, energy speaking, your November 1st is actually your true New Year's Day, the beginning of the cycle of energy that you are now finalizing upon your planet, because the cycle you are now emerging from was begun long ago in Atlantean time, and now you are shifting it. The idea, as we recognize, therefore, your Halloween, your All Hallows Eve, is that timing when you come, as you say, down to the wire of facing those portions of your consciousness that many of you now, for the several thousand years since the destruction of Atlantis, have submerged into your subconsciousness, have buried deep within you, and covered over with the waves of your surface conscious memory. These ideas now are rising once again from the depths of your being, are coming to the surface to reveal themselves in the knowledge of your connection to the infinite, and the recreation on the surface of your planet in the societies you have now of civilizations and attitudes and creations that are analogous to the height of the civilization on your planet you call Atlantis. You are very much at the same point, once again. Almost the same degree of technology. You now have some differences they did not have. They had some differences you do not have. But you are, relatively speaking, at the same point, the same level of technology, and on the verge, once again, of the same basic decision. Do you use it in positive ways and expand and accelerate to the stars, or do you use it in negative ways and once again submerge yourself under the basis of your consciousness? These decisions are up to you. Although we have, once again, shared with you many times that it is our perception now that you have decided to use it in a positive way, and that is the reason we can be in contact with you at this time, simply because your vibration is now becoming more and more like the vibration of the worlds that have created peace within their structures of consciousness. But we know that many of you still like to be frightened. Still love to play the ideas out. And this is a very creative thing to do. For if you can find ways to enjoy the fears you have, they can be transformed into positive light. And so, in honor of this idea, And in our willingness to play and participate in your society's customs, we share with you now our version of a little ghost story. If you wish, you may adjust the lighting to what you find appropriate. But we will leave that up to you. It all begins on a world, if you wish, very much like your own. It does not have to be any particular place. It does not really have to be any particular time. And as you say, the subject of the story can be called, for now, Ami. Ami can be, if you wish, male or female. It does not matter. On Ami's world, there is a time and a ritual that everyone must go through before they then undertake for the remainder of their life those ideas that they will be utilizing in service to all, those things that will represent their passage from what you would call childhood to adulthood, similar in many ways to many rituals you may have upon your world. This ritual involves the idea of spending some time in a particular structure. This structure is a many-storied structure, and even though it may not have absolute similarities to the idea of buildings upon your planet, it will do in this story to refer to it as a house. Now, you may wish to call it a haunted house. That is up to you. But in Ami's world, it is called the house of all things. Everyone knows of it. And it is not without some trepidation that individuals take their turns spending a night within the house of all things. And so it came to pass that it was Ami's turn to spend that night in the house of all things. And the teachers and the friends of Ami wished Ami well, all the while, of course, expressing that they were very glad it was not their turn. And so, with perhaps some boldness and yet some trepidation, Ami set off for the house of all things, which stood by itself in the very center of a forest, in its own clearing, in its own meadow. Pleasant enough, perhaps, during the day. Or so, at least, Ami used to think. And as Ami traveled through the forest towards the house, it began to be the time of the setting of the sun, dusk, as you call it. And the closer Ami got to the house of all things, the darker and darker it got. And the animals and the trees, of course, through Ami's imagination, began to take on slightly different aspects. Some of them seeming to point the way toward the house, but very reluctantly. Their branches swaying in the wind, pointing the direction to the house, but all the time bending in the wind as if to say, go back, go back. This is the way you wish to go, but if I were you, I would go back, go back. Well, Ami knew that Ami could go back, but Ami also knew, this was very important, that there were things to look at, things to face, things to understand if Ami were to become what Ami really desired to be. Nowhere but in this house could one accelerate so quickly, it was said. Though everyone who had been in the house was also told, you may share of your experiences if you wish, but not to the point where you will be living those experiences for everyone else. For it is up to everyone to decide that they themselves must go through this house and have their own experiences. And as Ami walked through the forest, Ami dwelt on the many tales that had been told and the many stories that had been shared. 3 steps forward, 2 steps back. 3 steps forward, 1 step back. Eventually, however, Ami arrived at the clearing. And there in the clearing, at the very center, was the house of all things. Multi-storied, it stood alone. The wind, the only sound. No light coming from anywhere, any window within the house. And Ami took one look back at the forest, comparing the idea of going ahead or going back. Bolstered up the courage and walked boldly up to the door. And just to be polite, gave a little knock. Just in case. Someone might be home. You never know. The door opened slowly, to Ami's surprise, but there did not seem to be anyone there. Yet Ami took it as an invitation, especially since everyone knew this is what Ami was supposed to do now, and stepped in. The door, you guessed it, closed behind Ami. Ever so gently, not a slam, but with an absolutely precise, definitive, and final click. And in that click, there was an echo of a voice. The way out is up. And Ami did not really understand this, was not even sure Ami had heard this for real. Rubbed out Ami's ears. My imagination getting to me. I am hearing voices already. I don't know if this was such a good idea. Individuals have said they spent whole night in this house. I have just arrived already. I'm hearing voices. I will probably never see the dawn. But if this is to be my fate, so be it. If there is anyone around who decides these things, if it is going to be horrible, please at least let it be quick. But there was no sound and there was no answer. And all was dark, except for, here and there, the very faint light of a moon shining through this window and that, creating even deeper shadows in contrast to the soft, velvety violet light. And Ami began to take stock of the surroundings, allowing the eyes to adjust somewhat. But never completely in focus did all of the room become. Ami wandered through, a creak here, an unknown sound there, a heartbeat. Oh, that must be mine, Ami said. A little louder than usual it is tonight. But it is mine after all. Ami sat in the middle of the first room for a very long time, expecting things to come to Ami, waiting for what might come, with some, once again, amount of dread and trepidation, uncertainty, unknowingness. And finally, after what seemed to be many hours, nothing had happened. Well, maybe it's not so bad after all, Ami said. Maybe I could go exploring this old place and find something interesting that no one has ever found. Perhaps all the others were simply too afraid. But if there really is nothing here, and I am the first to explore everywhere, I can come out perhaps with many treasures. Who knows what I may find under the floorboards and in the shadows that others have been afraid to go into. So Ami began to explore. A door here, a door there, some locked. Oh well, some not. Maybe I wish they were. Chose a door. turned the handle, pushed it open gently. Creak. An old house. Creak. A very old house. And into the room Ami went. Not much light at all. Little cracks here and there, little beams of moonlight. Little motes of dust catching the eye. What was that? Oh, just the light. What was that? Oh, just some dust. Walked into the room, and the door closed behind with the same definite click. Ami turned around and tried it, and it did not budge. No going back, the little click echoed. Only go up. Ami turned around to see if there were any other doorways out of the room, and in the shadows could not see any. Only go up. How can I go up? The room is sealed. There is a ceiling. I do not see any other doors. Ami looked around, staying close to the door through which Ami came, hoping upon hope that it might open again. And maybe it's just because the house is old. There isn't really anything holding the door shut. Maybe it's just because my hand is trembling and too weak to really pull it from being stuck. Maybe. And all of a sudden, a slight sound to one side. A sound like a breath, ever so shy. And Ami turned and could see nothing at first. And then, slowly, something that made Ami recoil against the door. For there seemed to be, far on the other side of the room, very faint, very ghostly, shining with the pale violet light of the moonlight itself, glowing softly, what appeared to be just two legs. Just two legs. As if there could be something standing and watching, but only deigning to allow enough of it to materialize, to at least allow Ami know where it stood. Just two legs, connected at the hip, with nothing above. And Ami looked a little closer to be sure that Ami was seeing what Ami thought Ami was seeing. And recoiled immediately as the legs took a step forward towards Ami. And Ami began to perspire heavily, and the heartbeat was ever more loud. And Ami turned around and faced the door, and began to wish with all the might that was contained in Ami's heart that the door would open. And pulled at the handle and rattle, but it would not give. And as the last rattle died away, the echo once again, the only way out is up. And Ami turned and looked. And to one side, where Ami did not see it before, there was another door. And Ami moved sideways around the wall, staying as far from the legs as possible. And they turned to watch, as if they had eyes, to observe Ami's movement around the room. And Ami made sure Ami's eyes stayed riveted on those legs so they would not run toward Ami. Because Ami thought if Ami could, Ami would run right through the wall if that happened. Ami reached the door. The legs seemed content as long as Ami did not enter further into the center of the room to remain where they were, just outlining its domain, as it were. Ami reached the other door, and with one hand opened it and looked, and there were some stairs. And quick as you can imagine, Ami bolted through the door and shut it behind. And turned around and saw a very tall staircase, very creaky stairs, and walked up and up and up and up and up, and came to another door, another room. Oh no, not more legs. A house full of legs. What could this mean? How am I supposed to learn from this? I am being scared to death. What is this supposed to teach me? Oh, teacher, I wish you were here now. It was you that told me I must go through this. If I were to become the army I want to be, how does this serve me? Can I really last the night? Oh, well, deep breath, into the room army went. Didn't see anything immediately. Pretty dark, though, just as dark as the other room. Little trickles of light through a very tiny window. Looked around. No legs. All right. Walked into the center of the room, turned 360 degrees, looked around. No legs. Oh, better and better, army thought. Explored the room a little bit more, peered into the shadows as far as army dared, looked up to the little window, stood looking up the shaft of light, as if somehow army might be able to leap up and squeeze out that little window to get outside into the moonlight, where army knew it would be safer. And all of a sudden, standing there, watching the light, army felt all of the skin on his back. As if something had caressed ever so gently. And took a gulp. No, just my imagination. The breeze through a crack in the floor, and turned around and jumped and stood frozen in the shaft of moonlight, and there floating nearby in the darkness, glowing ever so gently, a floating pair of arms, reaching out towards army, who now began to shake, who began to step back, able to uproot one foot and then the other, as if they were glued to the floor, and becoming stuck again and not taking another step, and staring at the arms that reached out, groping, grasping for army. And just beyond the arms to one side, army caught in the faintest glow of the light another door. Army wasted no time. Army ran. And did not stop the beating of army's heart so loud until the next door was slammed securely behind. And this time, by now, army was becoming weak and frightened and wishing there were a window large enough, for now army was certain army would jump, even if it meant army's death. For army did not want to spend another moment. And yet once again, in the slamming of that door and the clicking of the lock, there was the small voice. The way out is up. I'm going mad, army thought. Truly mad. Perhaps I will simply become a resident of this house. Perhaps this is how this house has become so haunted. I am seeing all the mad people that have been here before me, who have never escaped, and neither will I. Woe is me. But there ahead of army was yet again another staircase. Well, if I am going to die, it might as well be now. And up the stairs army climbed. And with each step, army's legs became heavier and heavier, and heavier, until at the very top, Ami wondered why the floor underneath did not give way, and Ami didn't go crashing through. Ami looked at the door at the top of the stairs, the same bright brass knob, waiting for the touch of Ami's hand, as if it had always been waiting for the touch of Ami's hand, to turn it. And with leaden arms, Ami reached and felt the smooth coldness, the coldness that Ami thought that any moment would signal the coldness that Ami's body would be in death if Ami walked through that door, and turned it. Click. A very, very old door. Very rusty. What strength Ami had left was necessary, all of it, to muster, to push the door open. For Ami knew it was the only way. There was no going back. And into the room Ami went. And the door closed behind. Click! And the echo died away, but Ami did not hear. For Ami's senses now draining, and Ami's heart was in the throat. For ahead of Ami, floating in the center of the dark room, was only a heart, a beating heart. Ami could not think. Ami could not move. Ami felt dark death wrapping around and covering Ami's eyes. Ami withdrew and curled into a little ball on the floor and felt the eternal night descend. But then, in the very depths of Ami's despair and fear and darkness, that little voice echoed again. Up, Ami. The way out is up. I am on the top floor, Ami cried. Up, Ami, up. Way out is up. What do you want from me? Ami cried. Yet Ami found strength coming back. A strength that, if anything, even if it was anger, even if it was defiance at Ami's predicament, was allowing Ami to regain senses. And rising slowly, Ami saw the heart. And the heart beat and glowed fiercely and brightly. And Ami did not feel as scared. Not as scared. And felt a warmth from the heart. Who are you? Said Ami. Up, said the heart. Up. I do not understand, said Ami. You will, said the heart. You will. The heart vanished. And the door behind Ami clicked open. And Ami saw light from below, in a house that had had no light up to that point, and descended the staircase and walked into the room, peering around the corner of first, of course, looking for the arm that had groped for Ami's throat, and saw nothing, and walked into the room, saw nothing. The room was lit, looked one wall, another wall, and the third wall, and froze, and then recovered. For there on the far, far wall was a mirror. And it was only Ami's arms in the moonlight that had scared Ami. And went to the other door, and down the stairs as fast as you could imagine, into the other room, where there was now light, and once again, the mirror on the far wall. It had only been Ami's legs that had trembled and turned as Ami turned around the room to seek escape, shining the reflection of the moonlight off of Ami's legs into the mirror. And Ami went to the front door, and it opened easily, and out of the house of all things to stand in the meadow and look at it from afar. And the night was glorious, and the moon shone brightly, and Ami was happy he had lived. And all of a sudden, a thought struck Ami. But wait, in the first room had been the reflection in the mirror of my legs. In the second room had been the reflection in the mirror of my arms, but no mirror can reflect a heart. What was that? What was that? Then there was a spirit. I wonder if I'll ever know. And it came to pass that Ami lived a full life, doing all the things that Ami desired to do, in being of service, in joy and love, and now and then pondered back to the house of all things and the heart, and wondered, but found no answer, could not understand how the house had been able to show a heart, to see through Ami's body, to show Ami's heart, if that is what it truly was. And so it came to pass that in the living of a full life, it came time for Ami to die. And in passing from the physical to the spirit world, Ami was met by Ami's teacher who had preceded before. How nice to see you again. And now we are spirits, and hearkening back to the time of the house of all things, I can see in that sense that spirits are not things to be feared. And funny you should mention that, said the teacher. Funny you should mention the house of all things. For just as it was in physical life, just as the house of all things represented a passage that each living being must go through, the house of all things is something that you as a novice spirit must also play a part in serving. How so? You mean now that I'm dead I have to go back there? Just for a moment or two. Just to be as a guide of service in love and in light. For it is the house of all things, and by definition it bridges both worlds. And it is a doorway and a passage that not only the living in life, but the living in death must also participate in. Very well, I will do what I must, said Ami. So go, said the teacher. There is someone waiting now. And so Ami went and entered the spirit side of the house of all things, but of course not through the front door, through the top, into the attic. And as soon as Ami was in place, the sound of a click, and Ami turned and saw Ami in life, being viewed by Ami in death. And Ami understood. I am the heart I saw. I am the guide I saw so long ago in life. my own self in the future, radiating the love, the self-love it would take for me to live the life I desired to live. I saw my own heart truly, but not reflected in any mirror of physical design, reflected in the mirror of spirit. To give myself the reminder that I am loved. Ah, me. We thank you. We thank you for allowing us to participate in the unlocking of yourselves to yourselves, in the revealing of yourselves to yourselves. For that is what the gate is all about. The gate you call All Hallows Eve, represented by the vibration of the number 13. For 13 is the gate of transformation, and death is only life in a different form. At this timing, in return for your gift of allowing us to share your dream with you, I ask you now, how may I serve you? And to you, good evening.
Thank you for your wonderful story.
We thank you for allowing us to concoct it out of the imagination and the dreams and the spirit of all of you and reflect as a mirror those ideas you already contain.
Since the summer, when I was in Santa Fe, I've been painting my own line of garments with lightning bolts and snakes.
Oh, how exciting!
And Indian symbols. And
Yes.
I was very excited to find that lightning bolts are the Kachina energy.
In many ways, yes.
And that the snake is an aboriginal sign of power, in a sense.
It is an ancient symbol to represent wisdom and knowledge, yes.
Thank you. Now, it seems this weekend I will be going to Miami and swimming with a dolphin.
Oh, all right. Have a good time.
I'm very excited to play with them.
Yes, they are very excited to play with all of you.
I know. I feel that, and also the person I'm going with, we feel we're on the wave of great momentum in sharing.
Aptly put.
Yes.
Especially where dolphins are concerned.
Especially at this time of November 1st and 2nd.
Yes,
And
especially in that area.
yes.
For it was off of your eastern and southern seaboard that the islands of Atlantis existed.
Yes.
Especially in what you call your Bahamas and your Bermuda areas.
Well, we sense this excitement and great expectancy.
Yes.
And yet I know, as much as there will be a lot of unfolding, I trust that the unfolding will happen when it's meant to happen.
Absolutely. It is going on all the time. You will have whatever recognition of it you need to have when you need to have it.
Yes, so I won't ask for a preview at this time.
All right.
But if there is any message the Dreamer has for myself or for anyone here, we haven't heard from Dreamer in a long time, and I thought maybe there might be some...
Take flowers with you. Flowers of many colors. Share them with the dolphins, even as they shared in times past the discovery of colorful things on the bottom of the sea and brought them to the surface for all of you.
Okay, so throw them in the water with them there?
Take them in the water with you.
Aha. Okay.
At least one.
All right. I like the idea of many.
All right. 'Tis up to you.
Okay.
We thank you. Oh, say hello for us.
I will. Thank
All
you
right.
very much.
Thank you. Sharing.
Good evening, Bashar.
And to you, good evening.
My name is Starbird.
All right.
I'm pregnant.
All right.
I'm a
How
dolphin.
exciting.
Yes. I'm a dolphin channel and dolphin caller.
All right.
And I'm expecting to have my babies in the water with dolphins.
All right.
And right now I'm looking for where, when, sort of that can happen, since in the moment there is no place.
All right. Do remember that whether it takes place physiologically or not, if you understand that, of course, A, the child will assist in the birth, it's not just on your shoulders.
Yes.
And you simply call forth the dolphin consciousness, which are very willing to help each and any of you now in the giving of the birth process. You will then be surrounded by their energy, see, even if it's not a physiological ocean. And that can amount to the same energy, wherein you will be buoyed up and supported. And there will be a flow with no pain whatsoever. Become lost in that energy sea, floating and sharing and feeling the interaction and the blending of the energy. It can be a physical sea, and if such is necessary, by simply putting this energy out in your imagination, you will attract yourself to whatever physiological counterpart of this idea can occur. But if it doesn't, you can do it within the energy sea. It will be the same.
I felt that. Thank you.
Thank
I have
you.
one related kind of question as well. Can you explain maybe what the connection is between the starboard energy, the Sirius connection, and the dolphin vibration?
Yes. Well, dolphins have received the idea of telepathic contact from the star Sirius for quite some time. The similarity in their vibration is that the sixth density level of consciousness around the star you call Sirius exists in an energy state. And when they have contacted your human life upon your planet telepathically, because they exist in an energy sea, your human minds have translated them to be amphibious beings, which they are not literally. But because you translate them that way, that gives you your first clue that they are very similar in vibratory wavelength to the dolphin, who exists as a sentient species in your ocean. And in that sense, by breathing air, are to some degree amphibious, even though they do not arrive upon the land surface itself. They are simply counterpart energy to the Sirius energy in many aspects. And the notion of what you call starbird is an ancient recognition of a vibratory name that is connected to ancient American Indian cultures that also knew and participated in directly the energy and telepathic linkages with dolphins and many other extraterrestrial societies all the time, especially those that existed on what you call your ancient eastern seaboard. Does that serve you?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Well, pleasant dreams.
Yes, me too.
Sharing.
Hi, Bashar.
And good evening to you.
I wanted to, first off, share with you that your mirroring has been a great assistance.
All right.
And
Can you all hear this individual adequately? All right.
And I have been facing a lot of myself, which actually has turned out to be a delight. Though
Yes.
It doesn't seem to be, to begin with.
Yes.
And actually, I have two, curiosity questions. I don't know which is most important, so I'll spit them out, answer the one you choose. How's
Oh, all right.
It seems that since I have disconnected with Billy Meyer, I seem to be attracting a lot of Orion-connected people.
Yes.
And I was kind of wondering what my connection might be with Orion, aside from the connection with all that is,
All right.
which I'm connected with everything, of
Yes,
course.
yes, yes.
And the other thing was an entity who is not Orion, but is often, by the people that pick him up, called Orion, or put into the Orion things, you might say, an entity called Maitreya. I
Yes.
was wondering if you could tell us about.
Thank you. Both are answerable in one format.
Good.
The idea, basically, remember, is that early Pleiadian offshoots are also Orion in nature.
I know that.
All right. In that fashion, therefore, you have created for yourself a connection to that form of the energy, because you recognize that in order to be of service in the way you desire to be, in order to allow the ancient negativity to be transformed into what you call Orion light, which is the representation of what you call the identity Maitreya, then in that sense, you would have to associate yourself with the Orion energy to allow individuals who were already fixed in that energy to understand the blending of the Pleiadian and the Orion energy as old offshoots of each other, as old split that happened long ago.
I want to thank you for the things you've said to us in the past. It sounds like a pretty simple formula, some of the things you said.
It is.
And you tell us it's simple, I believe it. And I've been following it.
All
and
right.
I've made some changes in my life because of it, I'm sure.
Thank you very much.
Not every change yet, but I found that trying to follow your instructions on imagination, I've imagined myself in different circumstances to a point where it's almost easy, or actually it's much easier to imagine myself there than where I am.
Yes, all right.
To a point where I feel I'm almost disconnecting in an unhealthy way.
Well, all right.
And
But it does not have to be viewed as unhealthy. Remember, one of the whole ideas of your transformational age is the whole process itself of disconnection from things that no longer represent who you are.
If we live in our dreams,
Yes.
is there a point where we are ineffective in operating in daily life? So that
Only when you do not allow yourself to incorporate the physical reality as a part of the dream itself. Only when you do not act physically the idea your imagination gives you out in the physical world.
I feel like I'm missing a part of the formula you say is so easy, and maybe it's exactly that part you just mentioned.
All right. That is why we always ask when we talk about the thing that excites you the most, if you're doing the thing that excites you the most as an individual. Because it is the doing in physical terms, the physical actions, that reflect the conviction of your dreams. Because if you're willing to have the conviction to act it out in physical terms, then you lock the physical reality and the dream reality together as one reality. If you remain floating in the idea of the imagination reality without thinking that you must manifest these ideas or put them into physical action, then you are forgetting that you chose to be a physical being. And that the whole idea of the transformational age is to allow yourself not just to recognize that physical reality is a dream, that dream reality is also solid and real, and that you, by taking steps and by acting with conviction on the opportunities that come, are actually putting into place, are manifesting in solid terms the idea of the dream you are being at any given moment. So it takes action, physical involvement, conviction, doing. That's what grounds you and also allows you to connect to the infinite at the same time.
At what point do we trust? We always trust.
Yes,
we
you
trust.
always trust. So whether you trust negative or positive, you always trust.
How do we always know what's negative and what's positive? When we want positive,
Yes.
and we have opportunity A and opportunity B.
Yes.
And we want to trust the most positive opportunity for
Yes.
us.
Trust the one that excites you the most and act on it with the most integrity you have.
But then when it turns out to be bad, and
Do not define something just because of the way it looks. Remember, no circumstance has built-in meaning. And many times, certain things may happen that may appear on the surface to be negative just because that's the way you've always defined them. But if all of a sudden you no longer define them that way and start defining them in a positive way, you will get a positive effect out of it. However, if for some reason you find that something that occurs as a result of what you have done does appear to be a negative act, then learn from it in a positive way. Learn what beliefs you would have had to have bought into in order for what you originally wanted to do to have transformed into a negative outcome. Because remember, what you put in is what you get out. And there is absolutely no way you can put a positive idea into the mechanism of trust and get a negative idea out. If you really are getting a negative effect, then you put a negative idea or a negative belief or a negative definition into it to begin with, which means simply that you may not have been as clear as you thought you were going in. So if you are getting a really negative result, and that is simply the idea of negative energy, that which is segregative, separative, in that sense, limiting, rather than integrative, unifying, and unlimiting, which is positive energy, if you really are getting a negative energy effect, then use it in a positive way. Oh, well, now that I am getting that result, that must mean that my definition going in was not as positive as I analytically thought. So now I can use this effect to retrace my steps, discover what my original definition was, to find out why I got the negative effect. Because if I did get a negative effect, the original information had to be negative. change it from that point of view, then put the positive, the new definition back in, and you cannot get anything but a positive result. You can still use a negative circumstance to teach you positive things. You can always use it as a barometer in that way. Understand?
Yes, I understand.
Does that serve you? Or is there still, in your terms, some confusion?
Well, I have to think about what you said before I can possibly not be confused about it.
No, all right.
I'm trying
All it really comes down to is a true fundamental trust, a fundamental definitional trust, in the sense that even if you do not always know what is going on in your head, even if for some reason now and then you might not be acting with full integrity, and something you do does come out to a negative manifestation, at least give yourself the fundamental trust that you will reflect to yourself either in the circumstances in your own life or through someone else's observation that you have in fact created a negative act, and being put in touch with the fact that you have done so will be your self-regulating and self-governing mechanism, so that fundamentally, even if now and then you might, quote unquote, accidentally or unintentionally create a negative act, you will at least create the lifestyle that will immediately catch it and immediately show you what you have done, so it won't go any farther than that. And then you can, in your terms, redefine it and rearrange it. So, if now and then you find yourself unintentionally manifesting a negative act, do not add more negativity by judging that you have been doing something incorrectly. Just allow yourself to realize that you have not necessarily perhaps defined the idea of your belief as clearly as you want to, and use the result as an opportunity to define the original belief more clearly. Because many times, remember, sometimes for many of you, it's easier to discover what you are by discovering more clearly what you are not. Understand?
I understand that.
Does that assist you?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Sharing.
Hello, Bashar.
And to you, good evening.
6 months ago, I left Woodland Hills. I left all my friends and everything, and I moved to Orange County
Okay.
with my dad.
All right.
And I got a new job and all new friends and everything, and things are going really well.
Yes.
And just in the last 2 months, I've been coming back to Woodland Hills,
Yes.
seeing my old friends and my old boyfriend.
Yes.
And since then, I've lost my job.
Oh, all right. Where do you suppose you lost it to? Maybe it's in the house of all things.
Maybe.
Would you like to go and look for it?
I was wondering if you had any insight why I have this need to keep coming back to this place when
May I ask you a personal question?
Yes.
Are you sure now?
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Is the job you had something that really excited you more than anything else you could be doing? Well,
No.
then, what do you want to do? It is absolutely no surprise that you would lose a job you don't want.
Okay. But what I really wanted to know is why do I keep coming back to Woodland Hills?
What do you want to do?
That's why I'm asking you.
What do you want to do in your life?
Be happy.
Be happy. How? By doing what? What excites you? Isn't there something you'd like to do?
Yeah, there's a lot of things I want to do.
Name the most exciting one. The most exciting one.
Travel.
All right, travel. Any place in particular?
Caribbean islands.
Why?
Because it's a beautiful place.
Yes, all right. Then why aren't you there?
Because I don't have the money to go.
Who says you need the money? Can your imagination not attract in your life different ways that you can get to different places without necessarily having it to be through money? It can be, but it doesn't have to be. Are you aware of the fact that there are other individuals on your planet who travel all the time and do not spend a cent?
Yeah, but there must be some reason.
Yes. Continue.
There must be something that's attracting me in this
Yes.
valley.
Yes.
You know, things don't go well for me here. I spent all my money here on my boyfriend who doesn't have any.
All
You
right.
know, so do you have
All
any
right.
insights on
Let's
that?
examine the idea of what you call your woodland hills. On what you call the positive side, what do you like about your woodland hills?
My mom lives there.
All right. What else?
I have a few friends
All right.
that I like to see.
What else?
Not much else.
Not much else. What about the energy of the area itself?
It's not good.
Not good.
No.
Why not?
Because a lot of things happen here
So?
that weren't very good for me. That's why I
All right.
moved in the first place.
But that's not what I'm asking you. I'm not asking you about the energy of the things that happen to you. I'm asking you about the energy of woodland hills. Let go of all the things that happen to you in woodland hills. Just get in touch right now with the energy of the place itself.
It doesn't feel right.
In what sense?
It just doesn't feel like I belong here.
All right.
I mean, like there's anything here for me, but
All
I
right.
keep coming back
Then
here.
where do you feel you do belong? Is it in the Caribbean?
Yeah,
Then go.
go there.
Yes. You are returning to what you consider to be, quote unquote, home base that is not home to you, to make it more clear to you that there are other places that do resonate into your vibration. Do not create the assumption you cannot get there. Put in your imagination the vision of you being where you believe you fit, where you believe you belong, where you believe you resonate. Do not block your ability to get there by creating assumptions that you can't because of what you think you need to do it. That is one of the reasons you have returned. To give yourself the opportunity to truly understand that you have the ability to go where you really want to go. To learn the things you really need to learn to be who you really want to be in this life. So put the desire out there, knowing it is highly probable that you can get there. You may not necessarily have to know how, and you don't really have to know how. You don't have to understand the details all the time. But if you have given yourself the ability, by being where you know you don't want to be, to define more clearly where you do want to be, then radiate with your imagination, visualize yourself in that area. Put all your senses into it. Feel what it would be like to be there. Taste what it would be like to be there. Hear as if you were there. See, smell, touch. Use all your senses. Wrap yourself in that vision. Feel what it feels like to be there, because you do know what it feels like to be there, even though you may not have been there in this physical life. You know what it feels like, because that's why you recognize the vibration. Feel it in your visualization. Then just send a burst of energy out into the world that represents your connection to that place. Then let it go. From that moment forward, all you need to do is the following thing. At any given moment, act upon the circumstance that is the most exciting circumstance that comes along that you are capable of acting upon. Those circumstances, whether they seem to have anything to do with the idea of your traveling or not, will lead you into the connections that will get you where you need to be. Do not judge them on the surface as having nothing to do with what you really want. Feel the same level of excitement, moment to moment, that these opportunities bring. It is the excitement that tells you these situations that will come along will be connected to each other in a path that will get you where you need to go. And the sooner you act upon these ideas, the sooner you act upon the opportunities that excite you the most at any given moment, the sooner you will get where you want to go, in the most unexpected ways. That's the whole point. The most unexpected ways will come about. Understand?
Yes, I do. Thank you very much.
Pleasant dreams to you.
You too.
Allow yourself to know if you are willing to begin to radiate that vibration beginning this evening of your time, that within what you call 72 of your hours, you will receive on some level the first signal that the momentum you have started is now echoing back to you. Again, it may not look like it's connected, but it will come in the form of a coincidental opportunity that will bring excitement with it. Act on it, even if it appears it is not connected. Act on it with integrity, without judgment, without doubt, without fear, without invalidation, in total love and total light. Understand?
Yes, I do.
Pleasant dream.
Thank you.
Thank you. Shooting!
Hello, Mr. Bashar.
Mister.
Yeah, I thought you might be interested in knowing that I'm very excited about being here tonight.
Oh, all right. Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
this is my first time, you know, but it must be deja vu because I feel I've done this before.
Must be.
Yeah. Anyway,
I feel the same way,
I'll
even
laugh.
though I know this is my first time.
very good. A laugh is always good for the heart.
Yes.
Where's that spirit? Anyway, I was listening last week to the information you gave on the spaceship.
Yes.
And I was wondering if we had time today, maybe we could take a visit.
Maybe.
Like,
After your break.
after my race. Sounds very good. You've done this for me once before, you know, so I feel good about this.
All right.
Yeah, now, what was I going to say? Oh, on your association, is there a lower level of the association, or is just one solid upper level of it?
There are many variations within how civilizations may express themselves within the association, but we do not put labels on the levels. Every being is equal, but different to every other being, and serves as that being and civilization can best serve to represent the vibration they have chosen to be. All are a part of it, all belong, all serve in their own way, and all are seen as equals in that light.
Okay, the only reason I asked my channel, Gregory, came back for a visit, and I asked him if he knew you, and he says, well, in a way, but he's in a lower level of the association.
It
and
is
that's why-
only a nomenclature that may be a representation of a frequency. It is not meant to be an invalidational or judgmental nomenclature, but simply a technical one.
Okay, that's
In
fine.
the same way that the vibrational frequency of the color red may be lower than the vibrational frequency of the color violet, but it has nothing to do with the idea of their worth.
I like that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. What well, I don't know if I really have a question on this, but I'm back to integrity again. It looks like I'm going to spend quite a few lifetimes where I'm at because I still enjoy stealing peanuts from the grocery store.
Let's put it this way. The whole idea, if you wish, one more technological description of integrity can be as follows. Just ensure that whatever you do results in an equal exchange that benefits both sides of the interaction and comes down to a net result of 0.
No problem. I got it licked. Just as a quickie, I did ask the garbage truck down at work, or excuse me, that's a lousy expression, but anyway, the vendor who comes, if I can have any free peanuts, so we flipped a coin and I won, and it just wasn't the same, even though I got the free peanuts. But
All right, but now that you are entitled to the free peanuts, you can simply suggest to the vendor that they forget the deal to allow you to continue to take them.
I'll check that with him, but I'm sure he's going to want me to flip the coin for it.
Oh, all
but
right.
we'll see what happens.
All right.
But anyway, good day to you.
And to you. Shooting.
Good evening, Bashar.
And to you, good evening.
I've had some of my past lives explained to me, and as they were explained, I could see how they were bleeding through to this life.
All right.
But I've never had any of my future lives explained, and I'm interested in how they're affecting this present life. Could you look
It
at?
can be much in the same way. To some degree, it can be analogous to the story we have told of Ami. The idea that certain events may occur in your life that simply do give you assistance in certain ways, but do not necessarily make it known at that moment that they may be bleed-throughs from a future self. because it is not important as to exactly where it comes from, but simply what it does at that moment. In fact, there are many bleed-throughs going on all the time for all of you, from what you call the past and the future, though those, of course, are very colloquial expressions and very arbitrary expressions at best. But the idea is that these bleed-throughs are not always recognized as such, because they will manifest in whatever terminology serves you best in the present that you understand, in the symbols you need to understand in the present. So you will not always recognize a bleed-through for what it is. And it is not always important that you do so. In fact, many times if you do, it can actually interfere with your ability to allow spontaneous creation to continue in your present. However, you can trust this as a foundation. Since your description of the future you is someone who has already gone through, to some degree, what you're going through now, and has already learned from that in what I will assume is a positive way, then simply to sum it all up in one analogy, assume that all the bleed-through that happens from the future, the positive idea of your future self, all takes this kind of a flavor. You made it. You did fine. It's worth it to keep going because you made it and it's great here. That is basically the flavor that all of those communications take. Keep going because you do know what you're doing. I know it because here I am. And I am calling back down the ages to remind you that the things that you really knew in your heart were the things you really wanted to do, and the things were really the most you were. Because I made it. How's that?
Okay, I can understand that. But let me give you an example.
Oh,
I've had
right.
a fascination with St. James.
Yes.
And in talking to John, he tells me that I lived back at the time of Jesus, that I knew both himself and his brother James. And you know, from that I could see the connection as to what this fascination was. I don't have
Well, then
any
what's your
feeling.
fascination with the future?
I don't have any.
None at all.
I don't seem to, no.
Then maybe you don't have any incarnations.
Is that a possibility?
Of course. Let me ask you this question. If you were now to translate into what you call spirit form, do you feel there is any other reason for you to incarnate at this point?
No, I don't. I feel I'm going to accomplish what I was supposed to do in this lifetime.
There's your answer.
All right, thank you.
Now, this is not necessarily to say that you cannot have incarnations of a type going on in other dimensions that would represent to you the idea of the future. But if they're not of the same timeline in your dimensional sense, then you may not have a sense of them relating to this life. So you may have them, but they may not relate to this particular linear format. And in that sense, this may be the last physical life you have. And if that is your feeling that you have accomplished or will accomplish what you need to in this life, then that is your best clue that you probably will not reincarnate again in the typical Earth cycle reincarnation basis.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, one moment, I'm not through. One moment. We are allowed to share that it is within our perceptive range. One moment. Within a short period of time as you count time. Now, I do not mean to be vague, but within any period of time that could be anywhere from 3 days to 3 years, that is a short period of time, there will be awakenings within your consciousness that can allow you to begin to see how in the non-physical state after this life, there will be certain choices for you in terms of being a spirit guide. And how you may even at first be very willing, after a certain amount of education in the spirit state, to actually come through a channel on Earth. That will be up to you. And that is all we are allowed to share. You will be told more by others that we have received this information from in your dream states. You will be prepared on that level. But the choice will still be yours. If you find that exciting at that time and interesting, it is open to you. As we read your energy, it seems very likely that it is something you may choose to do, but I will not say it is absolute because you always have free will. All right?
All right. Thank you very much. Sounds
you.
exciting.
Thank you. Sharing.
Hello, Bashar.
And to you, good evening.
I'd like to describe a scenario to you and get your reflection on it.
All right.
I had a while back, I mentioned once to you that I had got a perception that I had not been part of the Orion civilization or the Atlantis civilization.
Yes.
At that time, I had three things that, perceptions came to me, that I had refused to return to source because I wanted to maintain my individuality, and I had recycled through physicality for understanding.
Yes.
Another perception I got recently is that through the interchange of being here the last 10 months and listening to the 86 tapes and much the 85 tapes, I have got the understanding. I have completed my purpose for being in physicality at this time.
If you say so. There's one very easy way to find out.
I'm not ready to drop my body.
No, all right. But just as an area of interest for any of you, the easiest way to determine if you are through with your physical life is to lay down, close your eyes, take 3 deep breaths, relax, and say, I have completed all that I came to complete. Wait 3 minutes. If you can open your eyes, you're not done. It's as simple as that. However, do continue.
Anyway, that was the perception I got. It seems to me like once I've completed the purpose for being here, I can set up a new purpose.
Yes.
And I should no longer have some agreements that a building's going to fall on me or something.
Correct.
That I just totally set up my own future right now.
Yes, absolutely. And you have, I will assume, learned that the idea of going back to source actually means that your identity and your individuality is strengthened, not diffused.
Yes, I have. Thank you.
Does that serve you?
Yes, it does.
Well, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Bashar.
Turning.
Hi, Bashar.
And to you, good evening.
How you doing?
Perfect, and you?
Pretty good.
Pretty good.
Yeah. I want to ask you a question. I saw a ship on Tuesday evening, and I haven't seen one for a long time. It was kind of like diamond shape, and it had lights on the ends of it, and there were these 2 beings that you could see like through a window, and they were golden white color. I was wondering if you could comment on them.
Nope.
No?
Nope. Yes.
Okay. Well, then, could you discuss the activity out of Andromeda lately?
Only that the energy is funneling through the Arcturus gate, because that is one of the main input centers of what you call your galaxy, from the galaxy of Andromeda.
So was that an Andromeda ship?
No comment.
Come on, Bashar.
I am not allowed.
You're not allowed?
No.
No. Okay.
Now, again, not out of any great mystery, and not out of the desire to withhold, but do remember, as always, we impose upon ourselves blockages to information when the accessing of that information would be an interference, per se, in the processes that you are all going through.
Okay.
Let us simply say this. Energy is being added to the scale to help create a balance. That is all we are allowed to say.
Okay. And one quick question, because someone, I don't know, 2 or 3 people before me was bringing up colors and lights.
Yes.
I've been doing some channeling lately, and I got a channeling after seeing that ship from several of the different civilizations that I've had interactions with over the past couple of years, and they were talking to me in color tones.
Yes.
But, I really didn't understand it. It would say, like, Pleiadians vibrating positive in green, and you sent the, color positive vibration, all these different colors. And
Yes.
I didn't.
Energy is being added to the scale
In those
to
color
help create
frequencies.
a balance. You're only interpreting it on that level because there is no analytical message coming with it.
Oh, okay. Well, that's what got me, is there was no.
Yes.
They would just sent me a color tone.
Just think in terms of blending once again.
So that was their way of saying hello.
Well, in a sense, although it was not an absolute directive in that way. It is simply that the whole idea now is the energy of the association, and as such is the blending of all frequencies, out of which you may now and then, depending upon your degree of sensitivity, pick up different color vibrational tones in the electromagnetic field, but it is simply all the energy of our radiation, of our love to all of you, to assist you now as a mirror to reflect that energy so you can reflect it from yourselves, to help balance the scale.
Okay. Could you, clarify the Arcturian gate then?
The only way we can clarify that now is to simply say, you can think of it in terms of a consciousness, of a civilization, if you wish, non-physical in nature, that has taken upon themselves the responsibility for the channeling of the energy from other galaxies, especially the Andromeda Galaxy, to your galaxy. Therefore, they are, to some degree, responsible for. Now, this is a misnomer. Not the control, but in a sense the overseeing of the vibration of other energies that are funneled from galaxy to galaxy, and the disbursement of those energies like a prism into the various frequencies that will then be sent to the appropriate locale where the vibration is appropriate. In a sense, that's what you're picking up, is the disbursement of that energy.
Right.
Understand?
Yeah, that I understand.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Shooting!
Hello, Bashar.
And to you, good evening.
Good evening. I've been trying to formulate in my mind what I wanted to say.
Oh, all right.
It's now been for me, I think in the next few days it'll be about 80 days since the time we spoke last. And I know it's taken 80 days instead of 40 days to go through the transformation I've gone through.
Well, that's all right.
And what's happened is...
In actual fact, not meaning to interrupt
Sure.
you, the entire transformational cycle is actually 80 years, not 40 years. And so in that sense, you are mirroring that particular idea. Because it has been 40 years up to what you call your convergence point, and from this point forward will be another 40 years until your entire planet is actually living the example of what it is choosing to believe in now. So in that sense, 80 days is a representation not just of the changes an individual can go through, but also the idea of beyond the center point, of really absorbing and integrating it. So continue. You're not out of step.
No, I didn't think I was.
All right.
I realize now, I thought a symbol of the transformation that I was going through would be the selling of my business. And now I realize that it's neither the selling nor the keeping of it.
All right.
But simply the choice to create, whether I sell it or whether I don't, to create a positive situation out of either of it.
All right.
Because of you, as you have said, because I say so.
Yes. Because if you know you are a positively oriented being, there is no reason for any circumstance that occurs in your life, even if generated by another being that has negative intentions, there is no reason for any circumstance in your life as a positively oriented being to manifest anything other than a positive effect in your life.
Yeah, I all too often have created myself or allowed a situation to develop where I am, quote-unquote, a victim.
All right. Well, that was then, this is now. Is that
Right.
something you prefer to do from this point forward?
Not at all.
All right.
And the way I've done it is by not including my own energy.
All right.
And perhaps choosing to agree with someone else's definition of my own.
Yes. But this has been the thing that many of you have done for thousands of years.
Absolutely.
Buying into realities and definitions that really have nothing to do with who you really want to be.
Exactly.
So it is up to you. Are you having a good time?
Yes.
Is it getting more exciting?
Yes.
Well, all right.
This is getting much more
Oh,
exciting.
yes, thank you.
Thank you
very much.
It's been great. It's been absolutely great, and it's totally unexpected what's happened.
Oh, thank you.
Totally unexpected.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Bye.
Hello. Shooting!
Good day, Bashar.
Good evening to you.
I have a very exciting adventure that's going to start in December.
Oh, all right.
I'm going to be working on a very big feature film in Mexico for 5 months.
Oh, all right.
And I'm going to be working primarily in the desert, and I also hope to visit the Yucatan for a couple of weeks.
All right.
And I was wondering if you could give me any previews or coming attractions.
Nope.
Nothing?
You give them to us. Since you are so strongly connected into your flow, you share what you believe you're going to discover.
Well,
We may or may not comment on it, but you share. Since you have a very direct flow going right now, can you not feel it? You know what you're going to do. So make it a statement. Don't ask us, tell us.
Well, I know what I'm going to do in terms of my work, but
Yes.
in terms of what I hope to accomplish,
Hope.
what I plan to
Thank you.
is,
Is what?
well, I'd like to have an extraterrestrial contact.
In what nature?
Either a sighting, but preferably more direct, one-to-one, or...
Why?
I'm curious. I'd like to explore more and see what my connections are.
I see. What do you think you're having now?
Well, I... I should rephrase it to say other extraterrestrial contacts.
All right.
I enjoy our interaction extremely.
Oh, all right. But why do these interactions happen?
I
They
don't
happen
know.
to get you to rely on yourself. They happen to allow you to create your world and your energy to be a version of our world, in a sense, to match our frequency so that we can interact in more blatant ways with you. One moment. Will you still be in what you call your Yucatan area in your March month?
No.
When will you leave that area?
Probably the beginning of January.
One moment. Where will you be in your March month?
The desert, probably in the northern part of Mexico.
Ah, all right. All we are allowed to share is that if it is likely at all, it will be then in March when you are alone.
So I should keep looking at the sky.
No.
No.
You should keep doing what you need to do. Keep living your life. Look at the sky if you wish to. But not with expectation. No. The quickest way to generate the vibration similar enough to meet you halfway is to stay focused in your life, not on the sky. When something happens, you won't miss it. You will know exactly when to look up. And you will not have to look up 1 second before, nor will you look up 1 second later. Understand?
Yes.
So, continue on. You have already arranged your path accordingly. March is the strongest indicator we can give you, especially if that's when you will be in your desert area and alone.
The second thing I plan on accomplishing is discovering why I have such a strong attraction to the Mayan culture.
Or perhaps that is something that you will then discover when you are in that area.
Is there any method or meditation that you can suggest?
Follow your nose. There is more than one meaning in that, and you will find out what it is later.
Does that mean the sense of smell?
Follow your nose. That is all we can say.
Thank
Do you want me to unwrap all the Christmas presents for you?
Patience was never one of my virtues.
You don't need patience. Remember once again that the only reason individuals are impatient is because they think they need patience. And they think they need patience because they are not enjoying what is going on now but are waiting for something better to come along. When you are enjoying fully the life you are living in the moment, you're having far too much fun now to care what comes along. All you know is that whatever comes along later will be just as much fun, and it will be exactly what it needs to be. In living your life now to the fullest in the moment, at the point you're at, you will not need patience, and therefore you will not be impatient, because you will be busy having too much fun right now. Understand?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bashar.
Enjoy the journey you have laid out. And enjoy walking on the lush green carpet of your path.
Thank you. You'll be with me in spirit. I
Oh,
hope.
yes.
I plan.
More hope, more hope. Hope and plan, hope and plan.
Hello, Bashar.
Good evening.
This is quite an experience for me.
Oh, me too.
This is my first time
Me too.
to come and greet you. I have had a little bit of despondence in my life lately,
Oh,
and
all right.
I finally picked myself up by the drawers and thought, now this is no way to go. So,
Are you a cabinet?
I am curious to know, though, in my future, am I still going to be drugged down by the same negativity that I have been in the past?
Well, that's up to you, isn't it?
Well, if it's the other half of your life, what are you going to do? I mean,
Oh,
like
one
my
moment. One moment.
what I do, get up and leave him? I don't want to do that.
One moment. You, in any relationship, are always being of service to the other individual by
That's
allowing
true.
them to see reflected from you what they need to see, to learn to grow in the ways they want to learn. And in any relationship, you are being served by the other individual to see reflected in them the things you need to learn about yourself, to grow in the way you prefer to be. Remember this.
That's good. I like that.
Thank you. Remember this. Being of service to other individuals is actually more easily and more quickly and more thoroughly accomplished when you are being the fullest being you prefer to be. Because if you're not being fully you, then they're not in a relationship with you anyway.
Okay, then I can take that job I want then.
Allow yourself to understand the following fundamental. It is the simplest thing in creation to understand.
Okay.
Whatever it is in life that really does generate what excites you the most, that is the signal of who you are.
Oh, good.
Act on it with integrity. Every other circumstance in your life will automatically fall into place as a detail under the thing that represents your strongest intention, and everything that needs to work itself out and everything that needs to be in the life you are living will be there in the way it needs to be.
Oh, that's fantastic.
It is a very simple mechanism, and it always, always, always works.
Then I'm excited about this, and I'm going to do it. There's one other little thing.
Yes.
Animals seem to like me, and I've always been curious why.
Well, you radiate a very jovial frequency.
Oh, really?
Oh, yes. And also you have spent many lives in direct communion with nature in that way.
Oh.
And they sense that. You have been a healer many times in that sense, and they sense that.
Oh, that's what
And
it
they
is.
sense the warmth of your heart and are drawn to it.
And I'm always able to see a deer when we go to our mountain place. I always
Yes.
get to see a deer.
Well,
They're just beautiful animals, and I always get to see them.
Well, thank you. And
And
remember,
thank you.
they always get to see you.
I hope so. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, dear one. At this timing, you may all enjoy. I don't say. Continue.
Good evening, Bashar.
And to you, good evening.
I occasionally hear, and a number of people hear, a relatively high-pitched tone, very steady in pitch. What is it?
It can be a few things. One thing it can be for many of you is a sensitivity to the electrical activity within your own body from time to time. When it achieves a certain resonating, reinforcing standing wave, it can translate in certain ways along your nerve patterns to create the idea of a sound in your ear. Another idea is that sometimes many of you will be sensitive to what is called the prime frequency, the background frequency of creation itself, especially now that many more of you are becoming more sensitive to electromagnetic waves, and you are expanding your senses along that line and are becoming more sensitive to the very centered vibration, your signature vibration, the vibration that represents who and what you are as a consciousness. Sometimes that is what you are hearing. In its sense, it represents a level, a tone, an orientation that allows you to understand you are aligning in many ways and that you are expanding your senses in many ways. It gives you a line of sight, so to speak, a clearness of direction, so to speak. It is as a needle that lets you know when you are, to some degree, hitting a mark and passing through a particular vibratory gate, a vibratory doorway that means you are now going on to another level. You follow me?
Yes. Does that mean that at times when I hear it more frequently, it means that I am more in alignment, or there is more activity?
It also can mean you are processing more, yes.
Okay.
The tone, in a sense, is actually your recognition in auditory terms, in vibrational terms, of what is the blended tone that represents what used to be the difference between the old and the new you. In other words, the old you, the idea of the old you has a certain vibration. The idea of the new you has a certain vibration. When you finally allow there to be a blending, those vibrations reinforce each other in such a way as to create a central tone that allows you to recognize it as the blending of one dimension with another, a crossover tone. You follow me?
Yes. Yes.
Does that assist you?
Yes. Does it make a difference? I mean, sometimes it's in my right ear, sometimes in the left. Does that mean
Sometimes
anything?
it can be representative of the direction you are approaching the blending from, whether through, classically speaking, an intuitive side or an analytical side. It can be representative of that. Sometimes it is simply an echo vibration, in a sense, doesn't necessarily have a direct connection to exactly how you approached it. It can be representative of also many other different things. But generally speaking, it can represent the direction from which you approached this particular blending through this particular processing.
Okay. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Sharing.
Good evening, Bashar.
And to you, good evening.
In a session, you had told me that I had a lifetime on your planet.
Nice.
And I was wondering if it was past, present, or future.
In your terminology, it would be future.
Thank you.
It is, however, contemporary as far as I am concerned.
Thank you. And I also...
One moment. Not finished yet.
Okay, sorry.
It is also a life that comes and goes and is not, in your terms, firmly fixed in our world. It is a great traveler and spends a lot of time in Sirius energy as well, in Arcturus energy as well, in Pleiadian energy as well, and in various other civilizations as well. It is a great explorer.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
And I also want to know why you gave me the nickname Mermaid and Starfish.
Because it has to do with Atlantean connections that you also have in your past. That was your recognition back then in those lives of the connection that you are talking about now from this point of view, the stellar connection, starfish. And the idea of mermaid being the Sirius connection, the amphibious connection through the dolphin energy, especially in Atlantean times.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Sharing.
Good evening, Bashar.
And to you, good evening.
Bashar, I teach lectures on food and nutrition.
How exciting!
Yes, it is. And I was interested in your reflection on food as it relates to color and vibration, and in turn how it relates to the body.
Oh, my.
Oh, yes.
Or if I still ate, I might attend one of your lectures. However, in our society at this time, we absorb the energy of light directly. That can give you your first clue. Food, in that sense, the solid sustenance you still create upon your planet for food to be, the symbol of sustaining yourself through materiality, is, in and of itself, like any physical object, simply a representation of different vibrational states. And to some degree, the color will represent the balance point of the food, so to speak. Now, in general, therefore, those things that you call green in coloration, in general, for there are always exceptions and always specific differences in many different ways, but in general, the green foods represent, in and of themselves, obviously enough, the strongest and most balanced connection to your natural energy state. That which is represented as an extension of the earth itself. That is why the idea of vegetable sustenance will allow you to experience yourself on a vibrational level that is light in nature and very strongly connected to nature and clear seeing. You follow me so far?
Perfect.
There will be variations to some degree on this theme, especially in what you call the yellow-white range. For recognize that many of the things you call staples in your society are almost always yellowish-white. The idea of what you call rice, the idea of what you call corn, in that sense. These things, these ideas in general, will represent connections into specific dimensionalities of consciousness, especially the emotional body itself. The emotional body is solidly affixed within that vibration of the yellowish white as far as the food substance is concerned. And it is also connected to what you would call very spiritual aspects. And that is why much of those foods are, in your terms, revered or ritualized many times, because it represents the spirit idea of the essence of your consciousness as a physical being. The substances that are whitish yellow in nature are not very far removed from their natural energy state at all. They are very simplistic in structure, generally speaking. You follow me?
Yes.
Now, in no way, shape, or form are we saying that you must force yourself to be more spiritual by forcing yourself to ingest something that your body perhaps will not derive enough sustenance from, and only those things. But the idea generally is that as you elevate your vibrational level, you will usually find yourself losing the urge for something of denser sustenance. Eventually, as a society, you will primarily subsist upon the idea, mostly of vegetable formats, with a little bit of fruit format, and basically almost nothing else. In time, you will subsist directly on energy, as we do now. You follow me?
Yes, I do. A question about the green foods.
Yes.
Green relating also to the heart chakra vibration, to the green foods and the fact that we're moving into a heart vibration, or do they correlate?
Well, it is more than just the idea of the heart, which still carries the vibration also of a rosy idea, to some degree more associated with many different forms of the fruit rather than the vegetable. But they are polarities to some degree of each other, and not meaning it in the sense that they are actually opposites, but they are complementary in certain ways. That is what is symbolized by what you call the crystal, your pink and green tourmaline. Mm-hmm. The transition and the junction of the heart, and also the crystallized idea of the etheric consciousness, the nature consciousness that you are now crystallizing by the emerald vibration. It is the emerald vibration of your earth itself that gives rise to the power represented through the green food substances. The clarity of focus in that sense. Yes, it has to do with the heart, but the green itself is not a direct representation of the heart energy as such, except in a different way, on a different level altogether, dimensionally speaking, which is something we will not go into at this time. You follow me?
Yes, thank
Does
you.
this assist you?
Yes, very much.
Well, thank you very much. Shooting!
Hi, Bashar.
Hi.
Thank you very much for allowing us to communicate with you.
Oh, well, thank you very much for allowing us to communicate with all of you.
I know.
We enjoy it immensely.
Good. So do I.
Oh, thank you.
I feel as though I'm kind of repeating myself. This is the third time I've been up here
Oh, all
talking
right.
to you.
But it is always the first.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, but
Yes? What?
I feel as though I need some more specific answers
On what issue?
on what really excites me, on doing what really excites me the most.
Yes?
The last time I spoke with you, we discussed not having to make a living in the ways that didn't excite me
Yes.
anymore.
Yes.
So consequently, what happened is the next few days I got a whole bunch of jobs that didn't really excite me.
All right.
And I really had a lot of problems with my
Problems?
rent. Yeah, well, I look at them as problems.
Why? Why not look at them as experiences?
Because I don't like them.
Oh.
I don't like not being able to pay my rent and my bills.
Oh.
I'm not used to it.
Oh, you're not used to it.
No.
Oh, all right.
I was on workman's compensation for a couple of years, 2.5 years, and
Yes.
after an accident, and I was able to pretty much get inside of myself and grow to know myself more. I had
Oh,
a
all
lot
right.
of time,
Yes.
and then I guess I chose for that experience to not be there anymore because I gave a whole bunch of the money away,
All right.
and to where now I have to work, and the same as everyone else has to. But I've been working in ways that I don't prefer to do. Okay.
What do you want to do?
Well, what I really want to do
Yes?
is be of service to people and help them to understand more of the reality and the truth of themselves.
Or in what way?
I wish to be a channel.
All right, in what way? Remember, channeling is doing anything you really love to do when it comes right down to it.
The thing that I really enjoy to do right now is open myself up psychically.
Yes.
And
Yes.
it's been a really slow process.
All right.
And-
Never mind that. Never mind what it's been. What is it going to be now?
Well, I just want it to speed up and
All right. How will you do it? How will you design your expression of channeling? In what way do you wish to do it?
I wish to work with people on like
Yes.
a psychological psychic.
Yes.
On a one-on-one.
Yes.
And in group.
Yes, all right.
And also through writing.
Oh, well, all
Channeling
right.
Through writing.
Well, all right.
Up to this point, and especially at this point,
Yes.
I'm having so much worry about money and survival and paying my rent to
Yes.
the point that this month I don't know if I'm going to have even a place to live.
All right.
At the end of this month.
All right.
I'm
Exciting, isn't it?
Yeah, it's exciting and it's terrifying at the same time.
All right.
I feel like I'm a nervous wreck.
All right.
And I feel like I can't concentrate on what I really want to do because I'm so worried about the money. And
I see. Or maybe it's
And-
not an issue of concentration. Maybe it's an issue of allowance.
what do you mean?
What I mean is, do you really trust that what excites you the most will support you?
I guess I don't because it hasn't manifested.
But you haven't really done it yet. Have you?
No, I haven't because I don't know where to begin.
All right. How do you see? What kind of a picture do you have in your imagination when you see yourself doing the thing you say you want to do? Describe it to me. Are you interacting directly physically? Are you touching people? Are you writing? Are you sitting in a chair? Are you lying down? Are you flying around? What are you doing?
different things depending on the person. And the
Are you in
people.
any particular kind of a place? Are you out in a meadow? Are you under the ocean? Where are you?
I see myself more in a room with candles and
Yes.
music and...
All right. May I ask you a question?
Yes.
Thank you. Are there any places of this nature that you are aware of that you could work out of?
Yes.
Have you discussed with them the opportunity of doing so?
Yes.
And?
I just,
Yes.
I guess I'm afraid because I just don't know how to begin or how to start, and
All right, but we have just discussed the idea of a start. Once again, are there places like this that are set up to allow you to do these kind of things that you could be working through? Where there is a constant flow of individuals coming in, seeking out just the type of services you wish to provide, and could you not be one of the individuals in one of these places providing those services? And have you talked to such places and discussed with them the idea of allowing you to work out of those places to be of service to those individuals who come in seeking that help? Yes or no?
yes, I've touched on the idea.
All right,
of
touched on it.
Yes.
Have you been really convincing to them that that's something you really want to do?
No.
Why not? If you say that's what really excites you, then why do you not come across to them as if that really is true? Is that what you really want to do? Do you really want to be of service in that way?
I want to be of service.
In that way? Do you want to be of service in that way? Or is there some other way?
I don't know if there's some other way. That's
Well, is that the one that you are aware of right now that seems the most exciting?
That's the one that seems to be most exciting. I thought at one time that the way that this was going to transpire is that I
Yes.
have played with the idea of being an actress. I was trained to...
Or played with the idea
Yeah.
of being an actress.
Yeah, because it doesn't excite me as... It doesn't excite me to the point that I will pay the price that many individuals will pay.
Whoa. Pay what price?
The games and the prices that people see...
That other people.
That other people play in this town.
So you are telling me that your definition of being an actress means you cannot envision it happening any other way. That you have to play those games, that you must buy into those definitions, and that you cannot imagine it could happen any other way for you. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I've gone in and out of the acting business for 10 years, and
Yes.
all I would get is people hitting on me and wanting
Yes.
something in return for...
Yes.
And I just wasn't interested. I'm not interested in those kind of games.
Well, all right.
So I just figured that...
Are you interested in being an actress?
Yeah, I'm interested in being an actress, but I'm not prepared to go through going to parties and all the social bullshit and all that crap.
All right. Why do you have to? Why can you be not an actress without all of that?
Because,
Yes. Here comes another definition now. This is only a definition. Because what?
it just...
Because that's the way you've been taught it has to be?
Yeah, that's the way I've been taught it has to be. And
All right. Well, reteach
whenever
it.
I like to spend a lot of time in meditation and being quiet. I don't like parties. I like
Then
to be
don't
quiet.
go. Why go?
I don't.
All right, then.
And so what's happening is I'm becoming not an actress anymore.
Because you don't go to parties?
Because I don't go to parties and because I would never go to bed with the directors and...
Yes. But if your definition, if your ingrained definition of an actress is simply that you have to do those things in order to be an actress, then you're always going to attract circumstances that only give you that particular route to travel. If you redefine the idea that you can be an actress without those things, then you will start discovering other routes. You will not discover any other route to walk through until you change the definition of what you think you must be as an actress. If you simply buy into the fact that that's the only type of offerings you will get in being an actress, then that's the only type of offerings you will get. Start changing your definition of what you think you need to go through, or what you think you have to go through in order to be an actress. Be the actress you want to be. Include all the definitions of anything that has to do with being that actress in the way you want those definitions to be. Do not buy into the idea that in order to be an actress, you have to go through this doorway or deal with that individual. There are many individuals within what you call that business on your planet that do function within the idea you call integrity.
I haven't found any.
That's because you're not the vibration that believes they exist. Because you have been brought up to think that these other type of individuals are the only type you will find. It is your strongest fear, and that means it's your strongest belief. Your strongest fear is your strongest belief, don't forget. And if that's all you can believe you'll run into, that's all you'll see. The other ones will be invisible to you because you're not operating on their wavelength. They can't find you. You can't find them because you're not the same frequency, because you fear that the individuals that do not represent your wavelength will be easier to find. But understand, if they are easier to find, they are on your wavelength because of the fear itself, that they will be the only individuals you will find. So if that's all you're finding, and you don't prefer it, change your definition of what you think you ought to be. Change the frequency of the definition of what it is to be an actress, and then you will discover and attract the individuals who operate on the same level. All it is your definition. That's all it is. Understand?
Mm-hmm.
That's all it is. It's that easy. It's that simple. But until you believe it, you will get the same thing. Now, there are also, now that you have shared this idea, there are also individuals present this night of your time who, while they may not be able to directly assist you, can give you some suggestions.
Mm-hmm.
And so they can simply interact with you when this interaction is over for the evening. Just having put out what you desire, having taken the time to express the willingness of what your integrity is, having stood on your own 2 feet as you have just done, and stated your preference publicly, is one way to radiate the frequency that will allow all others on the same level to come up to you and interact with you on that level. Understand?
Yeah, I understand.
It will make a difference if you believe it will.
Mm-hmm.
If you believe it won't, it won't. That I promise you. Understand?
Yeah. Can I ask you a question?
Brief.
Do you perceive that this is the pathway that I originally saw my life?
Acting is a very strong one of them, yes. And understand this. Your pathway, your purpose, is simply being as fully as you can be anything you want to be that it excites you to be. The things you do in your life, the projects, the goals, are not the purposes of your life. They are the methodologies you are choosing to express the purpose of your life, which is to simply live the life to the fullest. That's the purpose of all of your lives. How you go about it, they are not the purposes. They are the methods.
Mm-hmm.
Understand?
Yeah.
So the method is up to you. Anything you do that is the most exciting thing you can think of to do will be your method for fulfilling the purpose of this life. Because remember, even though you are a reincarnational being, you have never been this you before, you will never be this you again. The you are now only has one life to live. Live it to the fullest. By being who you prefer to be. Be that vibration. And that is what will be reflected in your life. But how you get there is up to you. If the idea of being an actress is the most exciting way, be the actress you want to be on all the levels of that definition. Remember that acting is channeling.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you act the part of another personality, if you are really doing it the way it was intended to be done, you literally are another person. while you're that part. And I do not mean figuratively. You may think you look the same, but you are another person, because a person is not who or what you are. It is an artificial construct and an artificial projection of your consciousness. And you can be any person you want to be, regardless of whether you maintain a continuity of outward appearance or not. And yet many of you do realize that when an actor or an actress is really the part, they do even look different. Acting is channeling. Any form of creative expression, in that sense, is the positive definition of channeling. Incorporate these definitions into one, stand on your own 2 feet, state what you prefer, and to put it very colloquially in your own terminology, don't take any guff.
I won't. I refuse to. I'd rather...
That doesn't mean that you cannot expose yourself to certain environments and allow you to meet the people that it is necessary for you to meet in those environments. If sometime you perceive that a particular environment doesn't contain the vibration at all, that is, the vibration you are, then don't go. But recognize that you will attract yourself to whatever environments that you need to meet who you need to meet that is on the same level. And if there are other individuals in that environment that aren't, you will not interact with them. Understand?
Yeah, I understand.
They simply will not be attracted in that sense. And even if they are, the light you shine will determine whether they maintain the capability of involving you in a dialogue or not. For the second they see, if they are not acting with integrity, the light that is in your eyes, they will not be able to stand in its radiance. And they will make some excuse and go away.
Yeah.
Relax. Give forth who you are. Shine. Be that person. Thank you.
Thank you.
Shooting!
Hello, Bashar.
And good evening to you.
There's so many things I want to know now, I'm not sure which I want to ask.
But you know them all.
Okay.
Remember that a question is an answer removed from yourself.
Okay. On New Year's Day, coming back from Las Vegas, we were at Palmdale, and I and a friend and her little girl saw 4 flying saucers.
Yes.
And it seemed that I communicated with them.
Yes.
I asked them what they were doing there, and they said they were changing the molecular structure of the people so they could stand the New Age vibration.
Yes. That is called identification.
Okay. I just wondered if you have any comment on that, or...
Well, simply that from time to time, assessments will be made, identifications will be taken, and the idea simply is that a frequency will be sent, and it will be observed how closely it is matched to see whether or not individuals in your society are allowing themselves to be more equal. And wherever there are open doors that you are willing to allow the energy to come into, energy will be sent to aid and assist you in those adjustments. But it will not be done for you. It will be sent to you, and if you have allowed there to be open doors, you will take that energy, whether consciously or unconsciously, and make the adjustments that are necessary to aid and assist in the acceleration so that you become more acclimatized to the changes that are going on throughout the electromagnetic field of your planet. That is a quite common practice and quite common occurrence all over your globe. Does that satisfy you?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Shooting.
Good evening.
And to you, good evening.
Thank you. In the expression, blessed are, and we hear the different descriptions of people who are blessed, does that reflect the choice of a person choosing what is most exciting for himself?
Yes, in a sense. Yes, in a sense, although on the fundamental level, the phrase blessed are simply refers to the fact that you are all blessed, in a sense that you are all made out of living light. But the idea, yes, of recognizing a particular frequency of a particular individual and saying blessed are, it is a recognition that that individual is completely within alignment to the vibration of harmony, which means in that sense they are doing the thing that excites them the most to do, yes.
Help me please to understand then,
yes,
how a person who would be doing something that seems very negative, like sorrowing.
Yes.
Blessed are the sorrowing.
Yes.
How is that a...
Well, thank you. I will tell you.
Good.
Now, the idea, as we have discussed many times, of what you call sorrowing is simply the negative polarity of release. Laughter is the positive side. Sorrowing can have a positive effect if it is used as a centering, as a release, as a positive processing. That is the sorrowing that is referred to. It is not the idea that it is preferable to choose the negativity, but the idea is that if individuals know they are strong enough to have done so, if they simply do not know there is any other way to do it, and they have still chosen the idea that the only way they have to center themselves is through the idea of the sorrowing, then they are still learning in a positive way. They are still getting to the point they want to get to, even if they do it through the idea of the suffering in that sense. No one has to suffer. But if someone has as their strongest intention the idea of a positive notion, and yet they simply do not believe it can be done through any other way other than the sorrowing, well, their strongest intention still means that their sorrowing is being put to positive use. Understand?
Great.
Does that help?
It does. Thank you.
Well, thank you. At this timing, we would suggest that you all become comfortable. What shall be done in this interaction will be the idea of the projection of your imagination consciousness into one of what would be called our mother craft, our city ships. For frame of reference, its ancient name would translate in your language as the solar wind. It is approximately 1 mile in your terms of length, and contains several tens of thousands of beings. Now, understand that while your idea of physicality may seem to be focused upon your earth, the projection of your imagination consciousness does not mean that what you are about to experience is, quote unquote, just your imagination in the invalidational sense. What you are experiencing is real because your imagination is real and indicative of real dimensions of reality, even though not all of them that you imagine may directly physically apply to your planet. But they are no less real. And your experience will be no less real, and it will create changes within you that will manifest in your lives in ways that benefits the life you are living on your terminology. Therefore, 3 deep and loving full breaths. Your eyes may be open, they may be closed, that is up to you. But allow yourself to feel the centeredness of your being and float in that space that allows you to know there have been times in your life when you have connected to all the different levels. Allow this to be such a time, and whether your analytical mind seems to tell you it is not happening or not, know that it is. And now, as you continue to breathe softly, lovingly, warmly, coolly, and gently, and strongly, with conviction and certainty, picture in your mind's eye or with your physical eye the room you are in. Picture all of yourselves together. Picture yourselves as individuals. Picture yourselves at the same time as a collective, as one individual with many faces. Imagine now that all of you, no matter what physical configuration you are in to each other, are now surrounded by a thin, translucent, blue-white, crystalline energy shell. This will be the ship that elevates you up to the mother craft. Let it solidify around you. If it remains ethereal in nature, so be it. Whatever your imagination dictates, the image to be shall be the image that works best for you. Invalidate none of it. Your imagination knows what it is doing. Feel the energy within this crystalline bubble, no matter what its shape or size. Feel the raw thrumming power, the pulsing beat, as this ship aligns with the primary fundamental vibration of space and time itself, as it becomes the very idea of the vibration of light and space and time, of existence itself. It is powering up, rising in pitch, and as it does so, the room that you may imagine yourself seeing through the hull begins to dissolve into a gray mist, a limbo state of all that is and nothingness. And as you float together, imagine the pitch of your craft to change higher and higher, and yet at the same time a deep thrumming foundation increases in strength. And you rise and rise and rise until you look down and you see space and the stars and your earth below, shining and bright in the light of your sun. And as you rise and rise and rise, you look up and you see the long cylindrical shape of the city ship, of the solar wind, as it hangs over your world, between your earth and your moon. And you approach, and it grows in your field of vision. And you are all breathing as one, and you feel the excitement and the anticipation of meeting old friends and new friends. As we open our hearts and our arms and our minds to greet you and welcome you aboard, you blend and merge and pass through the hull itself. And you find you are surrounded by a bright white space. In this space and out of this space, faces may emerge and may sink back into the whiteness. Eyes may open and close and disappear. Figures may come out and solidify, or they may, in that sense, pass into ethereal mists. And as you recognize that you are aboard, you sense the beating of the hearts of all the beings on the craft, and you feel the heartbeat of your own heart matching that frequency. And as you match that vibration, beat after beat after beat after beat, the shell of your ship dissolves, and you find yourself floating in that brilliant whiteness. And you merge into the energy, and various beings take you by the hand or take you by the heart and smile, and we welcome you. And now allow your imagination to explore any portion of the ship you desire. You will pass through any hull, any bulkhead, any floor, any level. See what you are simply curious to see. We will give you simply a moment on your own, or together, or with friends on the ship to explore. And remember that you are all connected to each other, and you all feel the experiences of each other as you discover the images on the ship. Remember that your imagination may create what you see in your pictorial mind's eye to look very familiar to you. It may choose symbols that you are used to represent what you are seeing. Do not think you are not on the ship if you see something that does not appear that it should be on the ship. You are seeing it, but with the eyes of interpretation. That is all right. The essence will sink into you. And now, to your heart's delight, simply explore. Understand that you are absorbing all that you need to absorb. That which you feel you do not have time to explore now will be continued in your dream realities. You are always welcome. Now that you feel the vibration, familiarize yourself with it. You can always return. And for now, feel the connective link, the connective thread, the connective cord that all of you have to each other, the agreement and the bond of your brotherhood and your sisterhood, of your beinghood of earth, and collect yourselves back together in the spot in which you arrived. And as you breathe and feel the difference of the energy, gather the shell of your craft around you once again, its sparkling blue-white crystalline brilliance, and receive the gift of our love, and allow yourself to sink back through the hull out into space, and watch as the solar wind recedes, and look down and behold the beauty of the gem of your planet, its beautiful blue and white brilliance, and feel the love for the ship that is your world, and embrace it, and love it, and live. And as you settle back down onto the surface of your world, and allow the surroundings of your room to re-solidify around the outside of your crystalline craft, and allow the crystalline craft to dissolve into the structure of the room, and to dissolve into the very center of your being, understand, you have been aboard that ship. You will interpret it in the coming days in whatever way, shape, or form you need to. But the experience is real. You will take from it what you need. We give to you freely the energy of our love and our being. And we thank you for coexisting within the dream we have co-created to share. As you take 3 deep breaths, allow yourself to feel the connection with the earth deep into its core, and your connection to the heavens, to the farthest star. You are beings of celestial light. You are unlimited. You are everywhere. All that is all of us together. Space and time are your definitions. Live within the center of your being. Live within the now, within the moment, in love and light, and all space and time and distance shall be compressed into nothingness. feel the vibration that is the excitement of the being that you are. You are now not the same beings that you were at the beginning of this interaction. Wake up and now live.
How'd it go?
Great.
Thank you all very much for being here tonight.
Some are still up on the ship, I think.